The following episode contains topics which some listeners may find distressing. If you are in need of support, please reach out to LIFELINE, Beyond Blue, or other such services in your area. You're listening to a Melu Entertainment original podcast. On today's episode of the Ably Diverse Chronicles, we chat to the amazing Wendi Carroll. She's a world-renowned aerobic champion, fitness instructor, and all-around self-proclaimed crazy cat woman. We chat religion, sexuality, and a whole lot more, so why not join us right now? Hello and welcome back to the show, everybody. Today I'm super excited to have with me the beautiful Wendi Carroll. She's a fitness instructor, she's an aerobic champion, and a self-proclaimed crazy cat woman who I'm a bit scared of because I'm quite frankly allergic to cats, but I'm super stoked about this one, so let's go. Okay, let's get into this.
We discovered each other. I discovered you only a short time ago during lockdown.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that in a moment. So I haven't known you for a very long time. I want people to understand what life is like, but for anybody who's ably diverse, just someone who's different to yourself, and you are a really interesting person who I feel should be writing a book. So I just thought maybe if I just ask you a whole lot of questions, because I'm sure that not just me, but other people who know you only from one part of the world would like to know you from other parts of the world and want to know a lot more about you.
I used to be Baptist.
Is Baptist I have no idea.
It's okay. You're probably good. You're not missing out on much.
Okay, so is that in between, like being a Protestant and a Catholic, being a Baptist?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, all right. And do you believe in God?
Higher power. That's all I'll say. I'll probably end up getting a lot of hate for this, but higher power, but that comes within yourself, I believe.
Right. No,
you know what I mean?
I like that because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to put a word or a name to something that influences you.
Exactly.
And you don't say God, but it's a higher power. You got to have something that you're answering to or calling or whatever it is.
I mean, probably at the end of the day, you're only answering to yourself. But if whatever helps you is what helps you.
I was christened as a Lutheran. Certainly mum and dad were not strict about that. My mum decided she was a Buddhist by the time she died. So I was allowed to go to any scripture that I wanted at school. And I used to go to, I'd go to whatever was available at the time. And I came 1 year first in the class in the Church of England and in the Jewish class at the same time. I just didn't go to any of them because I kind of thought they were a bit of rubbish. But at one point I wanted to be a nun. So I wanted to be more of a missionary. I'm kind of doing that now. I save cats and I save people. At one point I did go to the Lutheran church that was here in the center of Sydney. It was in town and you had to go into town and I would go to the Sunday school. And my mum went, okay, she seems to like us. So we'll go every Sunday, and mum would go into the church and I'd go into the Sunday school. And then afterwards we would go around. It was near the museum in Sydney, and they'd opened up this shop, which was a bit like being in a space age shop because it was all done by robotics. And if you bought tokens and you put them in, and then the food would kind of come out a doorway and all of it. And then that shop closed down about 2 months later. And then mum said, are you ready to go? And I said, oh, no, I don't want to go anymore. She said, why not? I said, the shop's closed down. The only reason I was going is to go into the shop to play with the robotic machines. I had no interest in what was going on in Sunday school. So ably diverse, tell me about your ably diverse.
My ably diversity, I think, is what you're trying to say. That's actually quite good. I have CP, which is cerebral palsy. Yeah, all 4 limbs are affected. It's just a lack of oxygen at birth that causes it for various different reasons. And that's the nutshell.
So how did that affect you as a child and going to school?
For me, I went to, normal mainstream school, so I didn't know any different.
Kids treat you differently. Were some people mean or bullies?
Yeah, well, I have a moro reflex, which means I jump at sharp noises, sudden movements. So a lot of people would throw things, make noises, so I jump, and it's a full body spasm.
Yep.
And so, yeah, people sort of took notice of that and went,
Well, they're curious and they're cruel because they'll sort
yeah,
of think,
that's
oh, this
that's
will be
it.
funny. They get a laugh out of it, not realizing that that's really hurtful to
Yeah,
you.
it's more than the reaction is more what causes the curiosity, pretty much. That's
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because they
yeah,
don't know anybody else like that themselves. As much as you
no,
didn't know any other ably diverse people, they didn't know anyone else either. They only knew that their own reactions. So they thought that was like, oh, that's weird. That's interesting, so we're
yeah,
going to have a go at that. And then it just becomes something and it's easier to laugh at you with that rather than asking you, how does that feel, or any of
yeah,
those things. They haven't developed themselves enough. you
yeah.
know you get teased about these things, and it hurts, because
Yeah, why?
you don't fit in like everybody else does.
Yeah, and people are so insecure about themselves that they have to take it out on somebody else. And that's all it is. Whether you realize it or not, you don't actually realize it when you're young, I guess.
No,
That's
no,
what it is, you
no,
know?
it's easier to understand when you're older and you can look back on it and understand where they were coming
Oh,
from, and you realize a lot of the time the stuff is their problem, not yours.
hmm,
But when you're the young person dealing with that, it hurts and it's hard. So it's
yeah,
great now that there's a lot more these sort of podcasts and things for young people to actually be able to relate to other
yeah,
people.
yeah, and also be educated by it. Not just young people, but anyone, you know?
Anyone. Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm hoping, for
yeah.
across the board. Finish school.
Oh
What
dear.
what sort of jobs did you have?
I worked in radio. Can you tell how professional I am? No,
Absolutely.
yeah. I worked in radio for a couple of years. Clearly that failed. Doing admin and we were doing prize wheels and things. So suddenly, occasionally I come on air and spin the wheel and it's like, oh, someone so from this suburb, you win a prize, and that's all they'd let me do
Yeah,
because
okay.
clearly,
Woohoo.
clearly I talk too much. So I did that for a while, and then th there wasn't enough funding for me to go to the toilet every day at work. So
Ah,
yeah, so I had to go 3 days a week and only pee once in like a 6, 7 hour period. I don't wear a catheter because it causes so many infections and much rather have a relationship with my toilet seat. And I'm so grateful that I can. So many people can't. But I'll tell you what, when I sit on my toilet seat, so grateful that I'm sitting on my toilet seat. I don't know, I'm weird. But
oh, no, you're not alone in that. I think everyone,
how good is that?
ably diverse or not,
Yeah,
they love their own bathroom, their own toilet seat, when you can get there and you can relax and
yeah,
do business. I mean,
yeah,
people sit there and read books and do all sort of things
yeah,
in it, don't they?
yeah.
I don't.
Well, yes, I would say so. Maybe we need a podcast about that, a poll about what do you do
Or
when you're
maybe
in
not.
college? Knowing me, I probably would actually. You
That's okay.
no,
That
yeah.
can I not be in that one?
Actually, I wanted to tell the story. I was having spinal surgery, and the surgeon, he was a bit eccentric. And then I was going to have like X-rays halfway through. And he said, oh, we've got Mel, a phone sex operator, up on level 3, down for an X-ray. And I was like, holy shit, what's this? And all the nurses were looking, going, phone sex, what is going on? But little
Oh,
did we know, but years later, I'd kind of be doing the same thing, but in a different format. So he obviously
wow.
knew something was going on. Uh,
Well, somehow, like some sort of vibe, or like
yeah.
that inner God was
Exactly.
sending
And I came
messages.
back for a checkup and he said, have you ever thought about attaching a vibrator to your chair? Because that would be really handy. And I was like, this is really inappropriate. But he wasn't being inappropriate. He was just thinking ahead of time.
Yes, yes. I think he
Yeah,
was obviously a very open-minded person. He was
he
trying to think of you
was.
having a good life. It was
Yes.
more about what was important.
The day of the surgery, actually, he said to me, now, do you want a beer and a cigarette? I'm like, I just gave up smoking. What are you talking about? He goes, no, seriously, if you want a beer and a cigarette, I'll give you one. I said, mate, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. You're meant to be operating on me at 11. what are you talking about? And he's like, no, it's really fine. If you want a beer and a cigarette, go right ahead. And of course I didn't, because I just woken up. I mean, but really, honestly.
Yes, rather than he was talking a bit like in a sort of
You know,
tangent way, talking about you having a rigid spine. Is that correct?
yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Well, no.
Oh,
Afterwards, it all went well. And afterwards, he came and he went, oh, cool, that worked. I said, what do you mean? Oh, cool, that worked. And he goes, well, it's the first time I've ever done that. It's a world first. So congratulations, and you're here. So what it meant was
yeah.
a beer and a cigarette in case you cark it. So at least you've enjoyed yourself, because I don't know whether this is going to work. But he didn't want to tell me that.
Wow.
What the best thing was too, and you probably know about this. I don't know, something tells me you do. But I was put in traction for about 2 weeks straight after surgery. And
Sure.
my God, it was good. Oh,
Oh,
I don't know. You just don't move for like 8 hours per day, and you just gotta lie there and think about life. And you know you can't go anywhere because you're strapped down. And what it does is it straightens your pelvis and your hips, and so everything fuses all at once.
sets into that
Yeah,
position there.
that's it.
But mentally, that's very hard.
Oh, it was so nice though. Because
Oh,
even though you're staring at the roof and thinking, God, this is boring, it just feels really good.
okay, so that's the key for you, is because
Yeah,
of discomfort that you'd had, to have that lack of discomfort and to be that was
yeah.
so much pleasure.
Yeah, and also because my right lung had collapsed to 90% before they did the surgery,
Oh
the
my
night
goodness.
before. So it was 100-degree curve of scoliosis. The night before they did the surgery, they measured it. And they were like, "Hey, your lungs collapsed," and I'm like, "Well, I haven't even noticed, so we're good."
Because it was been happening slowly, getting slowly squash, squash,
Yeah,
squash.
yeah. So there you go. But yeah,
Okay.
traction is good. That's probably why I've turned out
Action
so
is
well.
good.
Yeah, I
I'm very
probably let
convinced.
that off you actually, just politely. But anyway,
You've learned many things off me. I don't
oh
know if
yeah,
action is good was one of them, but I'm sure there are many things you've learned. Now,
Dynabands, traction.
I want to jump into our relationship and
Yeah,
how we met, because like you were on the TV show that I was on. I was on a TV show called Aerobics Oz Style from 1990 until 2005.
yeah.
And at some point in that time, when you were a young girl, how old were you when you came onto the show?
I was 11.
So you were 11 when you came onto the show,
I was 11 with a monobrow.
but I wasn't there that day. So I didn't
So,
know you. I never knew you and only met you recently. So for 4 years, I
yeah,
didn't know you. Were we still doing the shows in the studio at that point in
yeah.
time? So we are in studio,
Yeah.
you came into the studio, you met a whole lot of the other gang,
And you were there.
and I wasn't there that day. So I never met you, never heard of you, no one told me, I never saw the show or anything.
Yeah.
So I did that show. I didn't know you. All of that time had gone by, 2005. But we come through to suddenly it's 2020. It's lockdown. Aerobics also
Um,
comes back onto TV.
yeah.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm getting this person starting to follow some of my things and liking some of my stuff. And it's this Melinah Viking. Who's this Melinah Viking person? They know so much about me. Seem to know, because like obviously I'm a person who is TMI, too much information.
Well, I
I
thought it
tell
was
you
cool.
about everything. So I tell you about my family and my cats and my
Yeah.
children and this, that, and the other. And so all of a sudden you knew everything about me. I'm like, how do you know that? It was my fault. I'd shared the
Yeah.
information publicly and had no idea what I was talking about as I was doing exercises.
It's, yeah.
And you remembered it and I forget.
You're very similar to me, because when I do live shows, I just ramble on, and half the time I don't know what I said, and I'm like, oh, probably shouldn't have said that, but there we go.
It's out there, it's in the world, and you're just being yourself, being your own raw self.
Yeah.
So we go to that 220, there you are, you're following me, you're turning up, and I'm like, okay. So we start to message a little bit and we're talking a little bit more. And then
Yeah.
I work out after discussion that you had actually been involved with Aerobics Oz Style. And in fact, not just being on the show, but later on you were involved in our music
And the
that
music.
came on. because you worked
Yeah.
with the guy from Philip from who was in
Mm.
England,
Yeah.
and he was ably diverse and
Yeah,
got
he
you
was.
working with him to help
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I thought that was the coolest job because I knew that I wouldn't be able to instruct. There would be no way that I would get on the show again. I think the producer would kill me if I tried to go back again. So I thought, what can I do? And obviously, I had music industry experience from working in radio. So I contacted them, and I had no idea about his disability or condition. And I just said, is there any jobs going? Because I'm desperately in need for a job. And so could you please give me one? Basically that desperate. And he said, yeah, and we shared stories and he went, there's no one else I would rather give this job to. I don't know you, but from your story, and told him how much of a fan I was. And he said, yeah, you're on. So but overworked and underpaid, but it was still one of the best opportunities I've ever had.
With your job basically in adult entertainment,
Yes.
you do everything on either online or on video. Job. It's a job.
Yeah.
But there must be times when you enjoy it more than others.
Yeah. And it gives me an escape from, just focusing on my disability the whole time. I'm
So do
focused.
you become another person?
Yes, but also I'm there for that other person's pleasure, not mine. So
Right.
kind
Okay.
of kind
Yeah.
of a weird way of putting it, but because I used to have really low self-esteem as well.
Do you not end up laughing with what might happen? Like I'm trying to picture what you
I know.
do. Well, if you're at your work in a
Yeah.
video and
Yeah.
you are performing, doing a show, but you can't control your limbs very well.
Oh,
Things
no.
are
So I
distracted,
can,
right?
yeah, no, I can, unless someone makes me jump, I can. So I'm all good. I don't have what we call apoptoid movement as much as some other people with CP.
Oh,
So I'm all good with that. I've had friends with CP who have kicked me in the face because they've been so excited that I've been sitting next to them that they've just kicked me in the face.
oh,
Um, so I'm very lucky in that sense that I can do a lot that other people in my position can't. And there's a lot of people with milder CP than me that can do more than I can. Actually, there is this whole thing of disability fetishes and people struggling to get out of bed. And that's a fetish. I don't get it. Don't ever ask me to do it because I won't do it.
no.
People have asked me and I've refused because it's
So,
just
so
too much.
that's one of the weird things that people ask.
Yeah.
What other strange things do people ask?
Recently I had a sneezing one. I had to sneeze for 45 minutes. I nearly put my back out. I thought this is not healthy. But hey, someone's happy. So, a lot of girls have had weirder ones than that. But I ended up, thinking, oh, my back's quite sore.
No, that's right,
But,
because it's quite a sharp thing.
and you
And
have to be authentic about it. You can't just be a chew.
that's you.
You've got
That's
to throw
you.
your back into it. So I took it to the team that day and I didn't work for a couple of days after that because I thought I can't.
Never turns you on.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
good, so long as it works for both people or all
yeah,
people, and
yeah.
how many are in the group, whatever.
It's all about consent, people. It's all about
Yeah,
consent.
it's all about consent. That is so true. And consent can change because you might
Yes,
not know what you're getting yourself into. And it's
yes.
the old no means no. And when someone says no, that's no. Safe words or whatever it might be.
And unfortunately, with physical disabilities, some men more often than women can see you as trap-free bondage
And
because you can't move. They've got you right where they want you.
yeah.
And sometimes no isn't no for them because you've got to say yes to be able to get up from wherever you are because you're relying on them to do that for you. You've just got to allow things to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
safer, yeah,
exactly. Oh,
for the
oh
safer
dear.
option. People have said to me, you could have just said no. And I said, well, yes, I could have. But if I did that,
I mean, you're stuck there.
they can just leave and I'm stuck there. And this is before AI, before Google, before phone watches. or watch phones or smartwatches. So what do you do in that instance? So
Now,
back in my day, when that didn't exist, what do people
in the
do? What are
olden
you
days,
meant to do?
honey, you are an amazing woman, and you have like there are so many stories in you that I still want to pull out thread by thread. Well, today to like find out a lot about you and how you
Thank
think
you.
and where you came from and what your background was and what some of your difficulties are there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm focused on as well. I really
yeah,
feel we don't know what your world and what the world for ably diverse and for
yeah,
anybody with diversity,
yeah.
what the world is like for them, and that's what we need to hear.
On that note,
On that note,
on that note,
for
I'm off
today,
for
honey,
work.
I think we've done really, really well. Thank you for inviting me on your show,
Thank you
Miss
for enduring this pain again for a second time around.
Melinah. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy our
Thanks,
chats. I
babe.
wish we lived closer.
Thanks for that.
My pleasure, honey.
There you go. Thank you. And
All
I'll
right.
see you then. All
Speak to
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and remember to connect with us on our socials and our Patreon. We'd love to hear from you, and also with your feedback and ideas. Join us next time on the Ably Chronicles.